All right, three, two, one, here we go. Hello and welcome to the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Dave Mamano, your host, and we are here to help entrepreneur achievers and business owners and leaders move forward so that they can reach their potential. I do this by interviewing the nation's best business movers and shakers. Today, I have on the show John Waid. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dave. How are you?
I am doing incredible, super fantastic. Happy to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's nice to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's tell the Avanti family all about you. We'll dig in. So John Waid is the founder and CEO of C3 Corporate Culture Consulting, a firm specializing in alignment and organization's culture with its strategic goals. John has worked in sales and marketing for Pfizer, PepsiCo, Nestle, Chateau. How do you say this one? Chateau
Saint Michel.
Oh, yeah, I was really close there. Okay.
Yeah. You can say San Michel if you want to get, a bad French out there.
Yeah, in your bio it says Chateau STE. So I was
Saint. Yeah.
Little, there we go. All right, so thank you for that. And the Michel Winery. During these experiences, he developed a heightened awareness of the indispensable role people's attitudes play in implementing effective processes and procedures. This interest led him to study behavior in corporate settings and working as a behavior consultant. Because behaviors don't exist in a vacuum, John examined and analyzed the effects of corporate culture on behavior and found that his real purpose in life is a pioneering expert on that subject. He understands the direct link between a company's culture and its performance. As a globally recognized expert on corporate culture, he leads companies to clearly define their values and then build positive and purposeful behaviors focused on results. He is a passionate advocate for developing business leaders who can attract superior talent and then retain that talent. John's background in marketing and sales is evident in his focus on using culture to grow businesses and their profits. He does this by teaching managers how to value their talent in ways that get desired results. John is an author, speaker, facilitator, and thought leader in the area of corporate culture and its positive impact on people and companies. He was born in Mexico City to be exact. He has lived in 5 countries and speaks fluent Spanish, Portuguese, and English. He is an author, keynote speaker, blogger, soccer fan, wine enthusiast, and proud dad. He currently makes his home in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, John, welcome to the show. I am going to love this interview because I am a culture guy as well. I think that I've had people on the podcast that, I've had some heated arguments, we'll say, that they say like culture is a nice thing to have, but at the end of the day, you need revenue. It's all about revenue and sales, And I always win the argument because I say, if you're a farmer, do you need the seeds in order for the plant to grow? And they say, yeah. I'm like, well, the plant is the sales and the revenue. The culture is the seed, right? No seed, no plant, no revenue, right? So they're like, all right, Dave, you got me. But I'm here in Rochester, New York, where we have one of the number one companies in the world, always at the top of the list for the Fortune 500, Fortune 100. Wegmans, right? Wegmans Food Markets. Wegmans right out of here, Rochester, New York. For years and forever, over 100 years, they've said that, the people come first. Their team comes first. When the cheese manager gets promoted, they go to France and Italy and they learn about cheese and everything. And then when they come back, they're so passionate. They're selling these cave cheeses for $20 a pound. And I buy it because their enthusiasm is contagious,
Right.
So, it all ripples, but in my opinion, I think yours too. I know yours too. That it all starts with a great culture. I think I told you. So, John, I met you in Atlanta when I was down there for another conference. I think I told you I wrote a book called "Make Love in the Workplace," and I also have a TEDx talk by the same name. And so I am drinking your Kool-Aid. When I had my magazine, we had about 20 employees. I always put culture first as well. So I love what you're doing. And I want to hear a little bit more about why you think it's so important. What are some of the things that you're teaching companies to do to make sure that they have outstanding cultures that translate into so many other things relating to the health of the company?
Right. So let's start with the way humans are today. Most humans, and you hit it right on the head. They focus on results. That's their number one thing. Focus on money and results. And we tend to promote people that focus on money and results. The problem is most people don't want to work with them because they think they're a bunch of assholes. And we have assholes running companies and nobody wants to work for them. And they wonder why the results aren't there. And it's because people don't like them. And because they haven't built a culture, they haven't focused on the people. They care only about the results. And when you care only about the results, you're going to get less results.
Yep.
And when money's your driver, you're going to do a lot of sometimes very risky things to get that money, sometimes even illegal or immoral things to get that money. So Boeing is a good example of what's going on today, because they're in a world of trouble because they didn't pay attention to their culture. One of their values, their number one value, safety. That's their bottom line value. If you don't have safety and you're building airplanes, that's a huge problem. And then integrity. They've unfortunately covered this up, and it's coming out today that they knew about it. They kept pumping out airplanes. So it was all about results. And that's what we see leaders, unfortunately, so-called leaders, doing so much today is results, results, results at all costs. And if I'm paying a guy $20-30 million to run a Fortune 500 company, yes, I want results. I don't want them at all costs. And that's the problem, is that you're running a really risky operation if you're focusing just on results, and you could care less about the culture, about the values. And when I talk about culture, I talk about values, because the leaders focus on values. They know what they are, they live them every day, and they make sure everybody else in the company lives them. And Dave, from your and I's conversation, you ran a successful business that made, great money, also had great people, and you focused on the people. They went and got the customers, and then you made a ton of money. Congratulations.
Thank you. And I like I said, I'm drinking your Kool-Aid for sure. And I'll never forget the first time, this is years ago, when Simon Sinek was just starting out, and he was talking about how Apple had made the jump at that time to the iPod, right? And had done so well with it because their why was so strong, right?
Right.
And they didn't invent the MP3 player, right? Dell had one, Samsung had one, but they were not really that popular. And I think it's because, and he said this too, that those other companies were running it to make money, right? They whereas Steve Jobs at the time said, you know what? It's 1,000 songs in your pocket. And all of a sudden, like, that clicked, right? And it's Apple's why, which is always just to go above and beyond with like amazing experiences, right? And certainly the money has followed. And I think Wegman, same thing. A lot of Southwest Airlines, right? Their why is so strong, and it's not about money. When someone asks somebody like, "What is your why?" and they say money, you say, no, it's not. That's going to be the result. But why are you doing this? And if you could get to the core of that why, right, and really dig deep and find out, like, why did they choose that business model? Why did they choose that product? And you really, start to get into their heart. Then the magic explodes, right? And right. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, one of my favorite books. He's probably got my favorite quote ever: that don't chase success. Create value, and success will find you. Right.
Right.
And it all starts with your why, and then the people that you surround yourself to make that why come alive.
Right. And if you start with why, and Simon Sinek said it beautifully when he said, Apple started with, their purpose is driven by creating value. We believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. That's their why. And to put a ding in the universe is another one of Steve Jobs' favorite sayings. So if you start with that why, and then you develop that why over time, and quite frankly, that why was driven by Steve Jobs' values, some of which were fantastic, like the start with why, some of which were controversial, because he was, he drove people to drink, literally.
Yeah.
Very, very demanding.
Yeah.
I heard somebody say that he threw the, the iPhone in the fish tank, said there's more room in there because there's air coming out.
Right.
So go back to the drawing board, right?
Right.
So, you have to have, when I talk to companies about their culture, I basically give them what we call take the culture challenge. And it's a real easy challenge. It's just, what are your values? And I ask that in companies all over the place. And I ask individuals, even when I'm traveling on airplanes, and most of them look like, they're explaining the 401k program at the homeless shelter. They don't know what their values are. And if you don't know what your values are, then you failed the culture challenge.
Right.
And, most companies, if I ask the senior executives, what are the values of your company? They go, what kind of question is that? And I go, okay, you don't know them.
Right.
If they don't know them, how can you possibly be living it? So what I say is you either have culture or you have chaos.
Yeah.
Most companies have chaos. They don't know what their values are. They don't know what they stand for. They don't know what their why is. They have no idea of culture. Very few companies do culture well. Wegmans is a great example. Southwest Airlines, Chick-fil-A, In-N-Out. There's a lot of great examples of great cultures where people love going to work. And if you focus on culture, you're focusing on the why. If you focus on culture, you're starting with the employees. You're starting with your associates. That's what culture is all about. The greatest leaders, and by the way, the definition of a leader is someone who starts with culture, who starts with values and behaviors, and they care about the employees. The head of Delta, the former head of Delta, cared about the employees. He brought back the culture of the founder, and Delta was a very, very successful airline that was brought out of bankruptcy by a guy named Richard Anderson. I admire Richard because when I saw his safety video, he didn't talk anything about the customers. He didn't talk anything about the profits. He talked about the employees. He talked about their behavior. He talked about how much he valued the employees. And that's, when I hear people talk about the employees, I know they're culture driven. And I call it culture driven because leaders start with culture and they're culture driven. So Richard Anderson is what I call a culture driven leader. And he left Delta, in a great, great place. Now Delta is money hungry and they're declining. They're declining as we speak. And if you're want to short a stock, if we go into a recession, that's a good one to short because they're going to go down. And Southwest is going to continue to go up. And if you think about it, Delta's got a great reputation now. The problem is it was built by the founder, and then Richard Anderson brought it back, and with his great leadership, he exemplified what it is to be a culture-driven leader.
Yeah.
So let's talk about entrepreneurship, because I know that's what your show's all about. What do you think, Dave, as you've been an entrepreneur and you've worked, with a lot of entrepreneurs, what are the values that you think drive entrepreneurs to make them really successful?
Well, I would say it's a reality on matching their passion to profits, right? Like we can all say, purpose and passion and core values and culture, and I want people to say that. But at the same time, it's got to relate to profits, right? So, certainly, we're talking about that it can't be about making money. But at the end of the day, the blood of the organization, the lifeline of like keeping us breathing is cash running through the organization, right? So we can't be Pollyanna about it, but it's about how we get there. It's about the core values that the entrepreneur has to make that cash so that we have the oxygen to survive every day, right? So, in my opinion, it's just, loving what you do so much and the fact that you're trying so hard to create such incredible value for your customers, right? And then it all starts with creating this team that is just, oh my God, they would go to war with you, right? They're drinking the Kool-Aid. They're coming to work because they love the mission, they love the leader, and they want to make a difference in the company. So a great entrepreneur will inspire that because let's face it, it's a great market right now. Great A players have a lot of choices of where they can work, right? So being able to attract these A players, keep them engaged, keep them excited about going from great to outstanding and bringing their A game every day internally, which ripples to the company. And I think and I want to get this from you as well. There are some, some tactics that you can do within the company that are very simple to make sure that these things stay alive. So you had said that a lot of times, even though they may have them posted, employees don't even know what the core values are, right? I've walked into companies and they have the core values in the lobby, but then you ask the employees, hey, name your 5 core values. And they're like, when I had the magazine, like I said, we had a fair amount of people. We would do a lot of instigative efforts to, or tactics, I should say, to make sure that the core values were integrated into our everyday life at work, right? So we had like a monthly award, and I didn't choose who was the team member of the month. They did, and we had our monthly meeting, and we went around the table, the conference room table, and we shared stories of people living our core values, right, that past month. Right. And then we did an anonymous vote, and whoever lived the core values the best that month won that team member of the month award, which came with some great benefits, right? We had on the back of our business cards, we had a newsletter. We would feature team members that were living the core values. Like our customers, our vendors knew what our core values were. And I literally would stop employees in the hallway and say, what are our core values? And, after a month, they knew them, right? They knew them because they didn't want to be embarrassed, right? And then we didn't even say, like, we not only said, here are our core values, but we said, but here's the why, like why these are our core values and what does it mean? What does that mean? So like, for instance, we would train a new employee. We would say, like one of our core values was we aim to wow, right? Like we want to have wow experiences, everybody that we encounter. Now I said, what do we mean by that? I said, like someone can get off the elevator and I could flash them with an overcoat, right? And that would be a wow experience, right? But we're not looking for that type of wow experience, right? And we would give examples of what does that wow experience look like. So for instance, it's 5:05 p.m. Phone rings. It's the customer. The person they want to talk to has already left the building. How can I help them? I'm on the phone with them right now. John already left. I'm sorry, but listen, I'm still here. What can I do to help you? At the very least, I'll have John call you tomorrow morning first thing, but is there anything I could do right now to help you? That person is going to be wowed, right? We had a magazine. I ran the wrong ad for a client one time. Guess what? He was pissed. It even wasn't me. It was one of my sales guys. We ran the wrong ad. It happens. It happens.
So the best of us.
Yeah, it happens. So the client wanted to talk to me, the CEO. I'm like, put him on. And he was attacking me. He was pissed off. And I said, what would you like to do? And he goes, well, I want a free ad. And I said, listen, I can't do that. He's like, why? I said, well, I don't think that's enough. I think you need 3 free ads because we messed up. And I want to make it up to you. That guy was wowed, right? Yeah. So I turned this guy who was pissed off and angry at us into, at the end of the day, he became an ambassador for us, right? Like I would see him at trade shows. He would talk to other people about how great it was to do business with us, right?
Right.
Them from one of our core values. We aimed to wow, right?
Right.
And so we turned him around and gave him a wow experience. He was never going to advertise again, I guarantee it. Gave him 3 ads. He became, continued to be a big client and an ambassador. So I think it's that type of dedication to the core values that becomes the DNA of the company, right? Exactly. And then that, in my opinion, is the core of a great culture, is that everyone knows what the core values are and they're living them every day.
Right. And you made your core values unique, and you probably kept it simple, right? Because one of my, actions that I believe in is keep it short and simple. You can do the other acronym of KISS, but keep it short and simple. And I tell companies, let's work on 3 values, maximum 3 values.
Yeah.
And I tell them, one's the operational value. It's how we make money. It's how we survive. So let's think about the U.S. as a country. That operational value of the U.S. as a country is called life. Mm-hmm. If we don't have life, we don't have anything. So that's your bottom line value that keeps the doors open every day and keeps the employees paid.
Yep.
So you need to have an operational value. So that's one value you need. The next one is you need a growth value. So and I call the operational value the manager value, right? The managers like to get things done and make money, right?
Yep.
You need that operational value. So your next value that you need is you need a growth value. You need something like, and I call that the coach value. And that's the one that keeps you growing and getting better and all the time. And then you need what I call an aspirational value. So if we talk about the three values at the core of our democracy, at the core of our country, life is your operational value. Liberty is your growth value, because with liberty, I can grow, I can get better. I need the liberty to do that, right? And then pursuit of happiness, that is your aspirational value. So if you nail it down to why we're the greatest country or one of the greatest countries in the world, is because we believe in those three values and they're balanced. We need life. We want liberty. We need life to operate. We need liberty to grow, and we need the pursuit of happiness to make it all worth it. We need that aspirational value of pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, I like how you related that, and you just mentioned my favorite movie too, Pursuit of Happiness. What a great movie, right?
Oh yeah. That's an awesome movie. Yeah, with Will Smith.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, no, and he had three values, and his aspirational value was to provide a better life for his kid, right?
Yep.
His growth value was to work really, really hard.
Yeah.
And then his bottom line value is he needed to survive, right?
Yeah.
So he did everything possible to survive in that movie. So survival was the base value, the operational value.
Yeah.
Growth was working really, really hard to get better. And he worked harder than anybody else in that company. And that's how he grew.
Yeah.
And then he wanted a better life for his kid.
Yeah.
And he wanted a better life for himself. And that was his aspirational, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. It's a great example of, in that movie, a person that had that. The greatest entrepreneurs, I guarantee you, have those three values. I jotted down a few before we got on the podcast. I called it brave heart, determined soul, and competitive mind.
Yeah.
The best entrepreneurs are competitive as hell. That's what keeps them, making money, because they're competitive. They want to win.
Yeah.
That's your bottom line. The determined soul is they're going to do it at all. They're not at all costs, because we're going to get to the third value, that they're determined to be successful.
Yeah.
They're determined every day to make it work. Jeff Bezos, I'm sure, was real competitive. I'm sure he was determined to make Amazon work. And then he's got a brave heart. At the end of the day, you need a brave heart to be an entrepreneur, because it's tough.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps you, going every day is you got a brave heart. You're out there challenging status quo. You're out there, challenging, every day. You've got a brave heart. So, if I were working with entrepreneurs, we'd come up with, like, you had your wow value. That was your aspirational value, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that might have been your growth value, actually, because you wanted to wow the customers. That's also what Zappos Shoes does, right? And, and he wrote a great book, Tony Hsieh, called Delivering Happiness. And
read that book. Really good book. Really good book. Yeah, there was really definitely. I thought it was going to be a little fluffy, kind of a little puffery piece for the company, but it was. I was very impressed with the book. There's a lot of good meat in it. There was a lot of good value in that book for sure.
It made me laugh because they made their money kind of haphazardly, and they talk about how they were trying to cheat the system. They had a job, and they would figure out when the boss would walk around their cubicle, and they'd go sleep and play video games most of the day, and then show up back at work. And then they started, they made some money, and then Microsoft bought them, and then he quit. He told Microsoft they gave him a retainer so he would stick around, and he told him, take your 20 million or whatever it was, and because I don't like the culture you have at Microsoft, and I hate coming into work.
Yeah.
And then the wonderful analogy of that book, and I love it, and I still use it to this day, is find the right business model, because that's important too. And when he interviewed this guy that came up with the Zappos idea, Tony thought it was a bad idea. Mm-hmm. And his partner said, Tony, you like to gamble, don't you? He said, oh, I love to gamble. That's why I like going to Vegas. And he said to Tony, he said, how do you win as a gambler? He said, you need to be in the right game, and you need to sit at the right table.
Yeah.
And he said, well, the right game right now is the internet, and the right table is shoes. Nobody's doing that right now. And there's a huge money. It's $1 billion, it's billions of dollars in market. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's figured it out. If we figure it out, we're going to be really successful. And they sold Zappos to Amazon for more than $1 billion, after 10 years. So wonderful book. If you want to, explore culture, delivering happiness is a wonderful book.
Yep. No, and I love what you're saying too about that. The pursuit of happiness and all that, and the framers of the Declaration there was they said you didn't have the right to happiness, you have the right to the pursuit of happiness, right?
Right.
Which means it takes a little work, right?
Right.
You don't have the right just to be happy. You have to earn it, right? Which requires some work. And when I saw you, I was at a conference with Suzanne Evans and Larry Winget, and when I was in Atlanta, and Larry Winget says something really cool. He goes, in order to do something great, you have to be ready, willing, and able.
Right.
And he said most people are ready and able. Right. But it is, are you willing, right, to do what it takes to be great, right? Yeah, right. Kind of the same thing.
Right.
So, hey, John, I want to jump into. You have a book out called "Reinventing Ralph." Right. So, who's Ralph, and why is he being reinvented?
Okay, so Ralph is a character that I came up with, and the name of the book is Reinventing Ralph, and it's a little story for salespeople about culture-driven selling. So my whole philosophy on this whole thing is culture-driven. So culture-driven selling, culture-driven leading, culture-driven managing, culture-driven entrepreneurship, culture-driven. What are your 3 values, and how do you live those values every day? So in sales, there's a lot of sales models out there. I started with sales because I grew up in sales. I love sales, and sales is what pays the bills. Especially if we end up going into a recession in the next few years, we're going to, call me to get sales training, because we'll give you the best sales training in the world. And I say that because we have huge success with salespeople, because we don't talk about the money. We don't talk about the process to get that money. We talk about the values that you need and the purpose of why you sell, right? And salespeople get excited because we're not in sales to bug people. We're in sales to deliver things to customers. What I say to somebody who tells me, I sold $2 million, I said, you didn't sell anything. Somebody bought $2 million and you helped them buy. So salespeople are in the helping people buy business.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, and your purpose is to help people buy and to get what they want, then sales becomes something really, really cool. If you're just out there to make money in sales, you're going to be mediocre.
Yeah.
If you involve a process, you might be a little bit better. You might even get to good with a process and I want to make money. If you want to be great in sales, you need to have a purpose. You need to have good values, the balanced values that I talked about. And in Reinventing Ralph, Ralph discovers he's having a really rough time. He's about to lose his marriage. He's about to get fired from Frito-Lay in the book, because I work for Frito-Lay. And Ralph discovers, 3 transcendent values for sales. And he ends up in the end of the book, with some huge success, because he's willing to live those values. And he doesn't give up, right? Because ready, willing, and able, right? And Ralph is willing in that book, because he's about to get fired. He's about to lose his marriage. And yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, John. Were you Ralph at one time?
I think we're all Ralph.
That is true. Yeah.
I think we're all Ralph, and I think we all have, we all learn and get better. And if you're really great, you develop some good values. I also, a lot of people say this culture stuff is a bunch of bullshit, to which I say, F you. I went to Furman University, so if they ask me what FU stands for, I say Furman University. The cheer at Furman University is FU one time, FU two times, FU three times, and FU all the time. That's
right.
Our cheer.
Oh my God.
If you go to the halftime at the Furman University, and I got a great education. I love Furman. The thing about it is that culture eats strategy for breakfast. That's what got me into this. I registered the trademark corporatecultureconsulting.com, and it was available 8 years ago. And I thought that was amazing because anything with strategy or processes was not available. And those two words have been way overused. If you want to be a great leader, if you want to be a great manager, you need to start with culture, because culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yeah, Peter Drucker, right?
Peter Drucker, that's right.
Yeah, I think he was right about a few things. So if he he said it way back when. So why not listen, right?
Right. Aristotle and all these guys that we still look to today. The Roman Empire was built on three values. One was utility. Whatever we do has to be utilitarian. That's your baseline value. Whatever we do has to be strong to last throughout the ages, right? That's your growth value, strength, right? I need to get stronger and better.
Yeah.
And then your aspirational value for the Roman Empire was beauty. So you see, and if you go to, I was just in Italy a few weeks ago, and everything they did had utility. It had strength. It's lasted forever.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
And it's beautiful.
They laughed at, in America, something's 200 years old, and and we think it's old, and then and then I've been to Florence, but the church there took over 400 years to build, right, before it was finished. And and it's like, and that's a normal thing over in Europe, especially Italy. They knew that it wasn't going to be done in their lifetime, but that was okay because it was going to last forever. And I mean, you go to Sicily, and these are the Greeks now. There are some Greek temples in Sicily that are in better shape than they are in Greece. So it is quite amazing for sure.
Right. So three values built the Greeks, three values built the Romans, three values dominates what we do in the United States and makes us great. So why wouldn't it make a company great, or why wouldn't it make a family great? So if you don't believe in values for your company and you don't know them and you don't care because you're a manager that's poorly trained and only cares about money, which there's nothing wrong with that. I want you to make tons of money. As a matter of fact, Chick-fil-A outsells Kentucky Fried Chicken 5 million to 1 million per store because they focus on culture, and Chick-fil-A focuses on culture, and Kentucky focuses on strategy.
I think Kentucky Fried Chicken focuses on heart attacks.
Yeah, all the fast food businesses will give you a heart attack. It's just you like getting your heart attack at Chick-fil-A.
It's better there. Well, and then and they're not even open on Sunday.
They treat you better at Chick-fil-A.
They're not even open on Sunday, and they're making all that much more money than Kentucky Fried Chicken, huh?
Yeah, 5 times more money. So for those greedy bastards out there that want to make a bunch of money, I do too. Be greedy. Be greedy because you'll make 5 million if you focus on culture.
That's fantastic.
So if you're an entrepreneur and you're just getting started, get your 3 values for yourself that you believe in. Get that operational value, get that growth value, and get that aspirational value. And you'll be like the Roman Empire, like the United States, like Zappos, like Chick-fil-A. If you don't have those values well defined, you're going to struggle. And if you don't live those values, you're going to struggle tremendously. And if you can't develop them yourself, get a company. We were one of the first companies in the culture space. Get somebody like us to help you. It's taken me 15 years to figure out this little subject of culture that everybody says is so soft. Yeah. It's really, really hard. We've simplified it and made it easy to digest and easy to understand. And it comes with hard numbers. Culture is a serious thing that a lot of leaders of companies are not taking seriously. And if you're not taking it seriously, as a CEO of a small company or a big company, you're gonna fall. Yeah. You're gonna fall. You see you see Uber, you see Boeing, you see all these companies that have problems, even our country. And you see the problems that greed is causing.
Yeah.
And again, greed is helps us to make money and do the operational stuff. It shouldn't be our main driver, because it should be the result of all the other things like you talked about.
Yeah.
So I take culture real seriously. I think it's the panacea. I agree with Simon. I agree with Chick-fil-A. I agree with all these companies that focus on culture, because I want you to be successful. My daughter gave me my purpose when she was 4 years old. They asked her unprompted, what does your daddy do for a living? He says, my daddy helps people be better.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All these years, I see you tearing up too. I love it.
Yeah. No,
Hey, John,
I love my daughter.
I love it. Hey, John, on that note, we're going to start to wind down because entrepreneurs, short attention span, try to keep this around 30 minutes.
Me too.
But fantastic, John. Hey, if people want to reach out to you, learn more, get in touch with you, where do they go?
So they can reach us at c3culture.com. They can call me at 404-915-3051, because we're in the people business. So call me.
Yeah.
If you get my message, it's because I get so many sales, calls by these people that only want money.
Yeah.
Right.
You should call them back. Leave a message, right?
Call me back. And then you can also reach me on my email, jwaid@corporatecultureconsulting.com.
And I also know firsthand, if you happen to be in the Atlanta area, if you live there or you are traveling through Atlanta, John will meet you out for a cup of coffee, right? So
that's right. Or even lunch.
Or even lunch. Yeah.
Or I love to meet people for breakfast, because culture eats strategy for breakfast.
It is delicious. That's a delicious breakfast. Absolutely. Well,
right.
John, Waid, thank you so much. Truly appreciate your time. Honored to have you on the show.
Glad to be here. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. And thank you, Avanti family, for listening, watching, whatever way you are taking in our information. Appreciate your time. Hope you got a lot out of this podcast. If you want to go and learn more about what we do and look at over more than 150 podcasts now over the past 3 years, it's at AvantiEntrepreneur.com. Check us out. Have a great day and stay awesome.